Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our session today on relaunching ABM as ABE to drive alignment. Sabi and I are here from Sales Screen to walk you through some of our lessons learned. So why don't we start off by introducing ourselves? Go ahead, Sabi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sabi, and I'm based in Amsterdam. And I'm working as a director of demand generation here at SalesScreen. I've been in the marketing world for over 3 years, started from a performance marketing to landing in the demand generation role. On the SalesScreen, we are a gamification company, and we primarily work with sales organization, helping them motivate their team and bringing the best out of each individuals and boosting productivity and helping the team to reach their goals.
Hi, I'm Olga Karanikos. I'm based in Boston. So Sabi and I work across the pond together. I'm the CMO at SalesScreen. I joined here just after Sabi did. We've been working together the last couple of years, refining a lot of our programs and strategies. So we're really happy to share those with you today. Talk a little bit about those iterations of ABM that you've seen. So where have things kind of transformed over the last couple of years?
Yeah, for sure. So, like many other SaaS companies, when we first heard about ABM, we got pretty excited because we saw the potential of what it can do. So we got really excited and we tried to, execute the strategy. And at that time, we lacked a clear understanding of how it works and how effectively we can make it work. And as a result, we relied heavily on tech stack, which at the time was demand based because it was a fancy tool and it had so much potential. So we onboarded the tool, believing that it will solve all our problems. We love demand based still, and we know what potential it has got. But I think we weren't fully ready for it, and because we haven't prioritized customers' insight, which we now know that it is the core of an ABM strategy. And also, we had this impression back in the day that ABM means, running advertising across your target account. So, which was not something ideal. And we learned all this way till date is that ABM is a holistic strategy that you need to apply from top to bottom. And advertising is just a large component in the larger purpose.
Yeah, agree. I remember walking in and thinking, we basically brought like a bazooka to a gunfight. It was such a massive system, so much money spent on advertising without thinking of any of the fundamentals before we even got to that point.
You came into sales screen with those programs already in place. What did you see that wasn't working, and why did you change it?
Yeah, so I saw that we had very big, clunky systems and we were very focused on automation. It was all about how quickly can we move the accounts in and out and look for intent signals and all the kind of good behaviors, but it was just too much without the fundamentals being in place. So we kept running into the challenge of not having enough content to fuel that kind of ABM machine. When you're spending that much on advertising and trying to touch as many accounts as possible and fluidly move from a new account to an aged account to high intent, all of that relies on a lot of content. So it was just a bit cart before the horse. So we wanted to make sure that we got to those foundational elements of having the right content, enough content, and making it personalized. That's the whole point of ABM. At what point of the process are those people in learning our product? What is their pain point? What is their struggle? All of that needs to be relevant to that particular account, and we just were not there yet. And really, like, it wasn't working to fuel pipeline at all. We had to really look at it as like a long-term process, whereas everything was very short-term focused on how quickly can we just get that signal to sales without it really being a true buyer signal. So there was a lot that just foundationally hadn't been thought out.
Yeah, I agree that we were at a stage that we were so focused on lead generation and our environment was around it, and it was a major shift on our side.
Yeah. So we moved away from ABM for a while to focus on that content first strategy, but also an ICP shift. To be, how did that set us up for success?
Yeah, I think the shift primarily allowed us to engage in broader conversations about continuous pain versus growing pains, and which in turn helped us develop a robust content strategy. Because at that time, we realized that we need to go back to our basics and understand our customers in a better way in order to build that strategy. So we did a lot of customer marketing activities. We talked to a lot of our customers in understanding what exactly is the pain that we are solving to different type of customers in different ICPs, which open a lot of opportunities in front of us, like how do we build our account base, how do we set up the content right, how do we align different teams. So the time where we moved away from target account base going to customer research, I would say, that opened a lot of opportunities for us and which gave us enough confidence to reintroduce that plan, that strategy, but with a lot of modifications into the play, which is, the way we set up the accounts, the way we think about above and below the power lines. Because I think for us, it was really important because we were going up market and for us to understand how different buyers interact within the organization. So gave us a lot of confidence. We onboarded a lot of our team members in understanding how we should approach. So I think that was a significant move on our side. Gave us a lot of confidence as well.
Right. And we ended up shifting our ICP entirely as far as industries too, right? So it was a massive change. It wasn't just kind of shifting the personas we were looking at, but personas by industry too, which changes things
Yeah,
pretty dramatically.
yeah, 100%.
So at the end of last year, we launched ABM, but things didn't really go as we had hoped. Why was that?
We launched with the new processes and most of them were successfully executed as well, but in some of them we did see that there are a lot of opportunities as well which we need to fix in order to run a successful ABM program. So we identified those things that is missing, and mainly it was the alignment part, and we went back to fixing those things again in our processes, again redefining our account base, the way we want to approach in a wider revenue organization in the revenue team. So I would say, it was partially successful in terms of setting up the program, but there was some opportunities that process-wise and alignment-wise, which we need to fix in order to have everybody on board. Okay, let's talk about what we did this year.
Yeah, so because we saw those alignment issues, we kind of rethought the whole process, right? It's one thing to say, hey, we're doing ABM, and ABM sounds like a marketing tactic, which it is. It's a marketing tactic that's going to serve the revenue company, but it's still a marketing tactic. So we sat down with our sales leader and he came up with the genius ABE title. So it was account based engagement, account based everywhere. He finds different ways to kind of label this. It's not just a marketing tactic, it's a company tactic. I really loved that and I really latched onto it because I thought it was fantastic. It really forces the alignment because it's a joint strategy. But it's much more than just alignment across sales and marketing. It's really making sure you have that buy-in from the top of the company. They understand we're all in. They see that the sales and marketing team and CS team are all aligned as a revenue team and that we're fully behind this strategy. The other thing we did was we rethought all of the account selections and did it with all of the feedback from sales in mind. So when we first launched our program, we wanted to focus on one single industry to make sure we had the right amount of content for that industry before we expanded. And what that meant was that sales was just not getting not enough leads, not enough accounts to work. They really needed to spread across our whole ICP. So we went back and relaunched the program, selecting accounts across industries, but having a different tier of ABE tactic on those industries. That core industry gets a little extra effort, more refined of an ABM program. We have more content. We have the stuff that will drive them through the funnel and a little bit of a sort of light ABM touch point on those other industries, but that still works in concert with sales so they can prospect against them. They can drive those through and we can feed back on the intent signals. Sales really liked that. We gave them accounts based on a scoring system that you did, right? That was fantastic. It was firmographics. plus intent, plus anything else that we could kind of scope and say, we really think that this particular account is going to be in a buying cycle this year. Sales had the right to veto, they had the right to add. We only locked in the accounts once we were sort of all agreed on this is our list. And then we really locked things down. So sales at this point is only allowed to work those ABE accounts. And allowed is a strong word too. They only want to work those accounts because they're going to be the most likely to bring them the pipeline and revenue they need to hit target. So fundamentally changing everything to really be a joint strategy that's pretty locked down and finite. And this is what we're doing for the next 6 to 12 months has really been a game changer. And so we're finally at the point that ABE has a really strong place at sales screen. And it's going to be a total revenue driver.
Yeah, that is true. And I still remember, the exercise that we did along with sales. I think this is also an important thing that we learned that, intent means different to different people and to different organizations. And one of the things that we learned is we can't rely on one source of intent. So we have to come up with the intent signals that we care about, that our customers care about. I think that was also a win that you just mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the ad tactics that you're using, Sibi, because I know you saw some really good return in that sort of first launch that we've carried over. What are you looking at as a mix?
Yeah, I mean, the number one tactic that I want to say is, demand gen ads don't convert; they educate, and I think this is one of the key things that we try to execute starting from last year, like in Q4. It's we thought of using the ads in a totally different way as opposed to using them just as a conversion channel, because we understand that we were going up market and it requires a lot of touch points, and we all hear about touch points, attributions, and these are the terms that marketers do really care about. And we were the same as well, but we just try to change our method of knowing it. And being in a company that is so focused on GDPR, so rather than cursing GDPR, we used it as an opportunity. Like with the GDPR, how do we make marketing activities efficient? And the way we did it is we focused really on platform engagement. So with that, LinkedIn introduced the thought leadership ad. So we heavily utilized that as a thought leadership content, and using different team members on our sales team, including our leadership as well, in educating different thought process in the different industry research that we were conducting, rather than just using a PDF or a case study. We were using thought leadership ad as a top layer, as a code layer, into reaching out more and more accounts, and then using that code layer and as an always on campaign, we then really focus on our retargeting efforts, which also was in the form of some product updates, some video related, further peeling the onion. So we call it internally as one of our sales leader used to say that as well, like peel the onion to surface the pain point. So the way we used our advertising is not just going after conversions, but thinking about how does our prospects or our future customers going to think about our messaging, and how do we just build a ladder for them to start to talk to us. So thought leadership was the main thing for us. We heavily use videos and thought leadership content, and then we bring very direct call to action channels. So none of our ads use CTA. So one of the things that I know that a lot of marketers say about CTAs in the banners, but we did the opposite, and we had a lot of attraction. Like we started thought leadership ads with 3% CTR. Let's say now it is touching even 10%. So it's one of the major success that we have had after our launch. Yeah.
I think that took a lot of buy-in internally, right? And it's that shift between lead gen and demand gen, and really nailing the point that we're not here to drive leads. We're here to drive account interest. So that's storytelling. It's brand building. It's pain point, emphasis, and just making sure people think of us when they have a pain point related to leaderboards or motivation or whatever it is. We've told them the story through those ads that are not converting, but they're much more likely to open up to our sales team when they reach out, or they're going to come find us when they're ready, and we're just driving that storyline. And that was a pretty big pump for us to kind of explain to everybody, like, you're not going to see a ton of leads. That's not the point. You're going to get warmed accounts.
I mean, it's similar to how different intent channels report, or companies like Demand Investing Sense. They tell you about the journeys. I think this is exactly what journey is, like how people are interacting with your messaging. That helps you to further build up your cases in terms of the connected messaging, drip campaign and everything. So it was a strong indicator, which also helped us to defining new KPIs for us, which is not just
Mhm.
website click, let's say, but how people are interacting with our messages.
All right. So, Sabi, if you had to look back at everything, what would you say were your biggest lessons learned?
I mean, one of the biggest thing that I initially touched upon was how do we select accounts. I think that was one of the main things that we had, like, because we were heavily relying on technology. I know, like, there's a lot of marketers, B2B companies that do the same thing. So, if somebody is new or trying to execute an ABM strategy, I mean, one of the things that we learned is you don't need a heavy tech stack to execute ABM strategy. The only thing that you need is your customers. I mean, if you don't have customers, you can rely on customer insights or market research to understand your customers. But I think the core of an ABM strategy is just the customers. If I had to go back 2 years ago and invest my time and money, I would definitely do in customer insights and then building my accounts versus build my account, then think about customers and content. I think it just goes with what your product solves, who is your customers, and then selecting the right customers that can be your customers, and then build your content strategy. So this was the main takeaway. And the second one, I mean, have advertising as your key driver for engagement, but not your entire strategy. So think about, again, go back to your customers, think about who your customer is and where do they go. So invest a lot on ICPs, invest a lot on buyer personas, and deep down into what exactly is buyer personas and what sort of strategies work for them. So those are the two main key takeaways for us.
And I would definitely say, from my perspective, I never underestimate the need for alignment. And that alignment doesn't need to be just between sales and marketing, which is like the typical thing we talk about when we talk about ABM or ABE. For us, it was really from leadership down to the ICs and making sure everybody is aligned, right? We talked about it at our company kickoff. It was very clear to everybody as a revenue team, we're investing in ABE. This is a strategy we're not going to leave behind. It is something that, leadership was bought into, and also bought into the idea that this is not going to pay off immediately. That doesn't mean we turn on ABE and within a month we're seeing a ton of leads. Not the point. It's really about driving that engagement and interest from those accounts in the long run and being there when they're ready to hit a buying cycle. So I think it's really just making sure you're kind of being that politician internally and going and talking to leadership and talking to sales, talking to CS, like really getting everybody invested, then really working with the sales team itself. And I think, once we've launched the program, we're working through it right now. I think one of the things that's certainly helping is you have meetings with each sort of regional group of salesperson, IC to IC, and I think that's fantastic. You guys really get to drill into the tactics and give honest feedback and work through those programs together.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, I mean, alignment is the key thing, and it starts from the leadership. I think we were lucky enough to get these buy-ins from top to bottom. I mean, and understanding individual contributors is really important as part of a successful ABM program, and this is exactly what we are trying to do. Is talking to different pods. I think it's always a challenge, but it always opens up a lot of opportunities. So yeah, totally agree with the alignment part.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for listening in. We hope you learned something and will learn from our mistakes. If you have any questions or thoughts, we're happy for you to reach out. We're both on LinkedIn and always happy to talk anything ABE. So thanks so much for listening in.
Thank you very much.